हेलो फ्रेंड, वेलकम टू मून मेडिकल एजुकेशन। फ्रेंड्स, आज का हमारा टॉपिक है जायंट्स। व्हाट इज जायंट्स? Asides where two or more bone come together, whether or not movement occur between them is called giants. वो साइड जहाँ एक या दो बून दो या दो से ज़्यादा बून एक दूसरे से मिलती है, वो उसे जायंट कहते हैं. The giants are classified according to the tissue lie between the bone. It is fibrous giant, cartilaginous giant and synovial giants. फाइब्रस जाइंट्स जो है ना, उसमें फाइब्रस टिश्यू होती है, कार्टिलेजियस में कार्टिलेज, और साइनोवियल जो है ना, उसमें साइनोवियल फ्लूइड होते हैं, साइनोवियल मेम्ब्रेन होती है. अदरवाइज द जंक्शन बिटवीन टू आर मोर बोन आर कॉल्ड जाइंट्स. जंक्शन बिटवीन टू आर मोर बोन आर कॉल्ड जाइंट. अच्छा दोस्तों, अभी हम बता रही है फाइब्रस जायंट्स, टाइप्स ऑफ जायंट्स के बारे में हम बता रही है. नंबर फर्स्ट, फाइब्रस जायंट्स. द इन फाइब्रस जायंट द आर्टिकुलेटिंग सरफेस ऑफ द बोन्स आर joined by fibrous tissue and thus very little movement is possible. The suture of vault of the skull and inferior tibiofibular joint are the example of fibrous giant. फाइब्रस जॉइंट जो है ना, आर्टिकुलेटिंग सरफेस, बोन के आर्टिकुलेटिंग सरफेस वो दूसरे बोन से जॉइन हुआ है फाइब्रस टिश्यू के ज़रिए, और थोड़ी सी मोमेंट भी इसमें पॉसिबल है, लिटल मोमेंट पॉसिबल. द सरफेस ऑफ वोल्ट ऑफ स्कल जो है ना, एग्जांपल है उसकी, और इंफीरियर टेबियोफिबुलर जॉइंट भी इसकी एग्जांपल में आती है. Number 2, cartilaginous giant. Cartilaginous giant can be divided into two types, so it is primary and secondary. A primary cartilaginous giant is in which bone are united by plate or bar of hyaline cartilage. It is the union between the epiphyses and diaphyses of the growing bone that between the first ribs and the manubrium sterni are the example of such a giant. No movement is possible. A secondary cartilaginous giant is one in which the bone are united by a plate of fibrous cartilage, or the articulating surface of the bone are covered by a thin layer of hyaline cartilage. Example are the joint between the vertebral bodies and symphysis pubis. A small amount of movement are possible. कार्टिलेजियस जॉइंट की दो अकसाम हैं, दैट इज़ प्राइमरी कार्टिलेजियस जॉइंट एंड सेकेंडरी कार्टिलेजियस. Synovial joints. Number second, synovial joints. The articular surface of the bone are covered by a thin layer of hyaline cartilage separated by a giant cavity. The arrangement permits a great degree of freedom of movement. The cavity of the joint lined by a synovial membrane which extend from the margin of to articular surface to those of the other. The synovial membrane has to protect outside by through a fibrous membrane referred to as the capsule of the giants. बोन का जो आर्टिकुलर सरफेस होता है ना, वो हाइलाइन कार्टिलेज से कवर होता है. एक लाइन होता है उस पर हाइलाइन कार्टिलेज का, और दूसरा जो क्यूविटी है ना, क्यूविटी में भी एक लाइन होता है, वो साइनोवियल मेम्ब्रेन से कवर होता है. The articular surface are lubricated by a viscous fluid called synovial fluid, which is produced by the synovial membrane in certain synovial joint. For example, in knee joint, disc or wedge of fibrocartilage are interposed between the articular surface of the bone. These are referred to as articular discs. आर्टिकुलर सरफेस जो है ना, वो लुब्रिकेट होता है, वेस्कस से लुब्रिकेट होता है. वो वेस्कस जो है ना, साइनोवियल मेम्ब्रेन सिक्रेट होता है, साइनोवियल फ्लूइड उसे कहा जाता है. नी जॉइंट, हिप जॉइंट and elbow joint are the best example of synovial joints. Fatty fat are found in some synovial giants. Lining between the synovial membrane and the fibrous capsule are bone. Examples are found in hip and knee giant. Fatty fat found fatty fat found in some synovial giant. Lining between the synovial membrane and the fibrous capsule are bone. उसके एग्जाम्पल जो है ना वो है giant and knee giant are the best example. Hip giant and knee giant are the best example. Fatty fat बस synovial giant में पाई जाती है. फैट से बना हुआ फैट पाई जाती है बस synovial giants में. The degree of movement in a synovial giant is limited by the shape of the bone participating in the giants, the coming together of adjacent anatomic structure, for example, the tie against the anterior abdominal wall in flexing the hip giant, and the presence of fibrous ligaments uniting the bone. Most of ligaments lie outside the giant's capsule, but in the knee, some important ligament, the cruciate ligament, lie within the capsule. अच्छा, next classification and characteristics of synovial giants. Synovial giants can be classified according to the arrangement of the articular surface and the type of movement that are possible. Number first, plain synovial giant. In plain synovial giant, the opposed articular surface are flat or almost flat, and this permits the bone to slide one another. Example of this giant are sternoclavicular giant or acromioclavicular giants. So, hinge giants. Hinge giants resemble the hinge on the door, so the flexion and extension movement are possible. Example of these giants are the elbow giant, knee giant, and ankle giants. Now pivot giant. In pivot giant, a central bony pivot is surrounded by a bony ligament ring, and rotation is only the moment possible. The alternational and superior radioulnar giants are good example. Condyloid giants have two disconnect convex surfaces that articulates with two concave surfaces. The moments of flexion, extension, adduction and abduction are possible together with a small amount of the rotation. The metacarpal phalangeal giant or Kinkle giant are good example. Ellipsoid giants. In ellipsoid giants, an elliptical convex articular surface fit into elliptical concave articular surface. The moments of flexion, extension, abduction, and adduction can take place, but rotation is impossible. Rotation is impossible. The worst giants is a good example of ellipsoid giants. In ellipsoid giants, rotation are impossible. Flexation, extension, adduction, and abduction can be take place, but rotation is impossible. Saddle giants and ball and socket giants are also synovial jelly.